street. We have an educational speech, which we don't have every time. So I really hope you do enjoy Christina. Christina is going to talk about inspirational speech. Is that right?
Yes, sir. If you're inspired, you're inspired. If not, then that's okay too.
So, inspirational speech, Christina, please welcome.
Thanks for having me. I was once walking through the city when I saw an old man busking on the street corner. He was wailing unchained melody to a crackly backing track playing out of a teeny little speaker on the street. He was out of tune, he was out of time. Frankly, he was terrible. Yet in that moment, I had this glimmer of inspiration. And I realised, if this guy can stand on the street and sing in public, surely I can do it too. I mean, I sang in choir in high school. I got a ukulele for Christmas. How hard could it be? So the very next day, I went out and I got myself a busking license. Yes, it's a thing. I, Christina Canters, was going to become a busker. But all of a sudden, the pressure was on, and my gung-ho enthusiasm quickly gave way to my fear of being publicly humiliated. My inner perfectionist kept screaming at me, "Christina, you need to practice more. Christina, you need to learn more songs. Christina, you're not good enough." Meanwhile, my friends were really excited for me, and they were saying, "Christina, when are you going to go busk? We want to come watch you." Ooh. It took me 6 months. 6 months of practice, procrastination, and peer pressure. But I finally managed to get myself down to DeGrave Street, next to the cupcake store. I set myself up against the wall, I set up my music sheets, picked up my ukulele, and I took a deep breath. I stay up too late, but nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. And I waited. I waited for the snarky comments, the weird stares, for someone to yell out, "Oi, go home!" But none of that happened. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I had people smiling at me, I had people giving me a thumbs up, and yes, I even made some tips. And I realised that this thing that I'd been so afraid of, this thing that I'd been putting off for 6 months, was really nothing to be afraid of at all. All my fears were simply made up in my head. Now that experience taught me many things, especially about overcoming fear. And what I learned from that has informed me in so many different areas of my life and challenges that I've undertaken moving forward. And today I'd like to share some of those lessons with you. The first thing is to overcome your fear. You've got to change your focus. Tony Robbins, one of my favourite speakers, he likes to say, where focus goes, energy flows. And he says that you should focus on what you have, not on what you don't have. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't control. Now, leading up to this busking experience, I've been focusing on what I didn't have, the talent. I had a little bit, but I wanted this and I didn't have it. And I focused on that, and that held me back from moving forward. So I had to change my focus to, hey, I've got the skills that I have right now, and they're good enough, and I'm going to focus instead on having fun. And as soon as I changed this focus, it lifted a weight off my shoulders, and I was able to get out there and have a really good time. So if you're procrastinating over something, if you find that you're being held back, I want you to think about, where is your focus? Are you focusing on what you can control? Or are you focusing on all the exterior things that you really have no control over? The economy, the climate, what Donald Trump is doing. You don't have control over that, so why worry about that and let that affect what you're doing right now? So focus on what you have, focus on what you can control, and focus on what you want to. The second thing that I learned from my busking experience was that you need to become okay with failure. Henry Ford once said, "Failure is simply an opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." Now, unfortunately, as humans, we are hardwired to fear failing. Because back in our caveman days, if we failed, if people didn't like us, it meant that we were ostracized from the group. We were kicked out of our caves with only a loincloth and our fists to protect us from those bloody saber-toothed tigers. We'd get eaten within 5 minutes if we were rejected or if we failed. Nowadays, chances of getting eaten, very, very slim if we get rejected. Yet, that fear still remains with us. Plus, I want you to think back to when you were in school. When we're kids, we're primed from young to fear being wrong. If we fail at a test, if we get something wrong, it's a failure. You can't pass school, you don't make it to the next level, whatever. But in life, failure is actually a good thing. Because when we fail, that's when we learn, that's when we grow, that's when we achieve the things that we really, really want. So I encourage you to practice being okay with failure and with making mistakes as well. So when I was there playing my ukulele, I just had to be comfortable knowing that, okay, I'm gonna make a mistake. I'm gonna forget my lyrics. I'm gonna have awkward silences, much like when you're standing up in front of a group. But if you can get comfortable with that, with the fact that will happen, it'll really help you and lift that weight off your shoulders. So I run a communication skills training business. It's called the C Method, as in letter C. And I speak at events and meetups. And I was speaking at this one event, and the MC got up to introduce me, and she said, "And our next speaker is Christina Canters, and her business is called the C Word." I was mortified. Luckily, someone in the audience goes, "The C Method." And she goes, "Oh." She goes, "The C Method. I'm sorry, it's Christina from the C Method, but hey, the C Word could be a great name for your next business." Now, she made a mistake in front of a lot of people, but the way that she dealt with that mistake, with that failure, was unbelievably, well, good. It was great. I was so impressed with how she handled that. And I believe that if we can all become comfortable with failing, when we do mess up or fail, we just take it in our stride and just go with it. Another thing that I learned from my busking experience was to embrace spontaneity. So I practiced all these songs, right, in my lounge room. But when I was actually out there performing to people, a challenge that I had was people would walk past and then they'd give me money, which is great, and then I'd go to say, "Thank you," and then I'd mess up my song. And so I had to learn how to deal with these random interactions from people. And that's one of the successes, one way that you need to do to be successful as a busker. I could have just stood there in a little bubble and just performed here and not even looked at anyone else. But then it wouldn't have been anywhere near as engaging or as fun for myself and for my audience. Something to think about when you're speaking to a group as well. Now, I want you to think about something that you might, a big project that you're working on or that you have in the past. So maybe you were planning your wedding, or you had a big work project, or maybe delivering your next Toastmasters speech. And in your head, you see clear skies and smooth ground, and that's how you're going to get there. That's how you think this is going to work. But in reality, you fall into a ditch. A hurricane comes past. Your boat springs a leak. Donald Trump becomes president. All of these unforeseen disasters happen. And you can either let it frazzle you, you can focus on that and have it foil all your grand plans, or you can take it in your stride and work with it and make it work for you. So as my confidence grew, as I was standing there playing my ukulele, I started to even change the lyrics of songs to address the people walking by. So I was going, "Hey sir, thank you so much for your donation. I really like your sweater, where did you get it?" And it felt amazing, and it made the whole experience so much more enjoyable and dynamic as well. Now, one of my favourite speakers, her name's Mel Robbins. She does a TED Talk, you should watch it, write her name down, it's Mel Robbins. Very first TED Talk I ever watched. And in it, she talks about how when faced with something challenging or outside of our comfort zone, we can never expect to feel like doing that thing. I didn't wake up one day and go, "You know what, I feel like going busking today." No, it didn't happen. Does anyone here go to the gym? Yeah? Is it hard? Yeah. Do you ever feel like going? No. You make yourself go, right? I started going on walks in the morning. I like to do it. I've been starting to practice a bit of meditation, just a little bit. And when I go, like I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I work for myself. I don't have to get up at 6 in the morning. I don't feel like getting up at 6 in the morning. I feel like sitting on the couch and watching SpongeBob SquarePants. But I don't. I have to make myself go. And it's the same with anything that you may be struggling with, or something that you're procrastinating about or finding hard to take action on. No one wakes up and goes, "I feel like starting a cupcake business." You might at the start, but as you know, like you go to implement it and it's really, really hard. And you have to push yourself to get there. And you have to force other people to force you to do it as well. So those are a few things that I learnt from my busking challenge. And I challenge you to think about what's something that you want to do, that you want to achieve, that you're procrastinating over, or maybe facing some resistance. Maybe think about changing what you're focusing on. Maybe think about being okay with making a mistake or failing. And be okay with embracing all the crazy, unforeseen things that pop up. I believe that getting out of your comfort zone is one of the best ways that you can learn, grow, and achieve things that you never thought possible. And if I can do it, and if an old tone-deaf man on the street can do it, I'm 100% certain that you all can do it too. Thank you.
Wow. What an inspirational speech.
So it worked? Good.
It really works. Thank you.